Say hi. Hi. Oh, is it time to work on this? Hey. 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 Should we work on this? Yeah. What's going on, guys? So today we got a box in the mail, finally. Yay. Box o hose, so we can finish hooking up most of this. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Anyway. So we got a bunch of tidying up to do. I was starting to run some hose up here for this little water tank. This is our swirl pot, I guess you could call it, for our coolant system, because our radiator sits lower than the highest point in our cooling system in the motor. We don't have a good way to bleed, so we had to make one, and it's just simply this little pot. So I'm running to fill the barbs up, running this one to the back of the head here. There's this hose barb right in here. We'll run this front barb right here over to the top of the radiator cap, and then we'll have to take this radiator cap, we can get it off, there it goes, and then we'll have to cut this piece right here off specifically. And what that will allow it to do is will allow this radiator hose to always be open, so it will constantly bleed from this port and burble up in the air. There's a port underneath it, you can kind of see it right there. We'll run that to the other side of the block where the water comes in to this pipe, because it's a lower point. As you can see, there's a Y here. One of these will be for the turbo, the other one will go to that port, and that should finish off that. And so that's what we're gonna start with. Just gonna start making some hoses for it. So realized before I can make the last couple lines, I need to actually remake the 10AN lines that I made for the oil cooler. Not too big of a deal. They're just a little tight, and I'm not really super satisfied with them sitting on top of this bracket. I would really like them to sit down more on the frame rail. And when you pull them over here, there's just quite a bit of tension on them, and it doesn't really feel good to do it that way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shorten this one right here and move it to this side, and then I'm gonna replace this hose entirely and probably just reuse this line for the oil drain or something else, I don't know, or just save it for a later project. But we'll just pull the fittings off of it and then just replace it entirely. So I'm gonna start doing that real quick, because that feels like the thing to do. Okay, so behold, we have brand new lines, and they actually sit down low now, and they run across the top of the frame rail here, and then they just dive straight in up into our oil filter sandwich plate like you see there. So that's all hooked up now. So oil lines are all redone now, so pretty happy with them. They look cleaned up, they look much nicer, and I don't think they're gonna chafe or have any issues like that. So pretty happy about that. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and finish off the lines for this. They've all been cut. Essentially, it's just running them all. This one, as you can see, runs to the nipple right there in the back that I need to hook up, get a clamp on, and then tighten that fitting down. This guy right here doesn't run into that hole. That's gonna run up into this guy right here. And then I got this one other hose right here, which is gonna go to the other side of the car. So I'm gonna go ahead and hook all that up real quick, and then I'll just show you guys the finished product. All right, and behold, this thing is, I guess all intensive purposes, 75% hooked up. We just have this one last port, which I don't have any place to send this to yet. This would just be simply our new overflow line, and we'll run this to an overflow can whenever I figure that situation out. Like I said before, we got this rubber line which cruises over to the top there, and just plugs in right in the back of the head. And then we take our other top line right here, and that guy's gonna run over here. I ran out of hose clamps to clamp that down, so we'll have to find a new one for that. And then if you look carefully, there's one more hose coming from the bottom, and it follows along the top of these and then runs over the top of the radiator, and it comes in straight down in here, which is where we're gonna tee off for one of the water lines for the turbo. So now that that's done, we move on to our next thing, which our next thing is going to be mounting our Mac valve or boost controller, which I made a video about how this thing works and gets set up a long time ago, but I did order a new mounting plate for it, wherever the heck I put that. Did I put it in my pocket? Yep. Ordered a new mounting plate for it, which just looks like this little chunk of aluminum, and it comes with screws for these two inset pieces, and then it comes with screws to mount the actual piece or the actual blow-off valve onto it. So where we're gonna take this though and mount it is straight up down here. We're gonna mount it down here up on the frame rail. As you can see, my vacuum block is right there, so we have a nice easy straight shot from that port right there on the side straight over to it sitting somewhere right here, and then that will run across and up into our wastegate, which I'm gonna try to rotate this wastegate so this nipple points down, so it'll make it a little bit more nice. So yeah, we're gonna start with mounting that. So yeah, let's do it. Whoa, yes. Okay, so we have a big old tray of lines. I threw the intake manifold back on just to make sure everything fits still. If you come down here, you can see how I've bridged this together. So it's got a T, which runs into another T to give us two more ports on this. This one runs straight through into our Mac valve, and essentially this just needs to control our wastegate because this is going to modify the signal to the wastegate to give us more boost when we want it. So I don't have a cool little pneumatic fitting on the other end, so we got to run a normal hose barb. So we'll run the hose for that later when I buy some, because I haven't bought some for this fitting size. Other than that, This other half runs up to the fuel pressure regulator behind and underneath everything, up to that boy. And then the other side just runs up straight up into the blow-off valve. So the only thing left to hook up for vacuum system still is the wastegate, and then obviously the map sensor when the car is wired and has an ECU in it to run the map line. So next up, we have to finish our fuel system. So our fuel system has 2 out of the 3 lines ran. These 2 go all the way to the back of the car. There is a fuel filter inline on this line, which is our feed line. So that's cool and all taken care of and ready to go. So the last thing that we have to do is feed fuel from it into the rail. So I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to do one small hose from here to here and then just kind of tuck it down behind everything so you don't really see it too much. If I'm not really pleased with that, I have enough hose to move it to the front fitting, and then I'll just loop it underneath everything, and that way it's just kind of all tucked up out of the way. But like I said, I'm going to try the back side of the hose, or back side of the fuel rail first. Yeah, and then see how I like it. Past that, we just have to wire up, or not wire up, plumb up the turbo, which still waiting on at least the oil drain fitting for it, and then we're ready to plumb it. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the fuel line real quick, jump back in and see you in a second. Peace.